There is a fine line between fear and control. Oftentimes, rulers fear to lose control, so they choose to control through fear. Fear-mongering is the practice of deliberately arousing public fear, using tactics such as exaggeration and repetition in order to achieve a desired outcome. Throughout history, politicians, world rulers, and even advertisers have utilized this tactic to influence the public into thinking a certain way that benefits them. People use fear-mongering through institutions, propaganda, and orations to garner political gain and maintain control.
Leaders have used fear-mongering tactics through institutions such as the Spanish Inquisition and the Salem witch trials to maintain control over their subjects and communities so that they would remain in political power. Founded in 1478 by the Catholic kings Fernando and Isabel, the Spanish Inquisition had the purpose of detecting heresy in Spain for both religious and political reasons. Though they would release suspects that they found innocent after investigations, inquisitors were known for being ruthless when they detected signs of heresy. Though they would release suspects they found innocent after investigations, inquisitors were known for being ruthless when they detected signs of heresy, executing hundreds of victims and burning them at stake. During this time, Protestant views were becoming more prevalent in Europe, which threatened the authority of the Roman Catholic Church. In order to maintain their control, Fernando and Isabel used the trials as a way to deter people from adopting Protestantism due to their fear of being executed on the basis of heresy, and a strict Roman Catholic orthodoxy prevailed in Spain. This was the desired outcome the Spanish rulers had as they wished to maintain their political dominance in Europe. Fear-mongering can also be seen in the Salem witch trials as portrayed in Arthur Miller's The Crucible. It dramatizes the real events that took place in Salem, Massachusetts between 1692 and 1693, where a group of young teenage girls affected by mass hysteria began accusing individuals of witchcraft and compacting with the devil, both of which were crimes against the state because of the theocracy in place. In order to handle the situation, the play describes two judges, Danforth and Hawthorne, who began a series of trials to get the accused individuals to confess their crimes. They wanted the accused to confess that they were involved in witchcraft and used the fear of execution in order to do so, with confession or hanging being the only two options available. Along the way, the judges as well as the priests involved began to suspect that the accusations were false, but continued to use fear-mongering so that they would be able to maintain order and uphold the legitimacy of the church as well as their positions in the theocracy.
Throughout history, political factions have used propaganda to gain public support by inducing widespread fear. This is seen extensively in U.S. presidential campaigns like that of Lyndon B. Johnson in 1964 and during the Holocaust when Adolf Hitler rallied support for his final solution. The, cam- the campaign of President Lyndon Johnson in 1964 released the Daisy commercial, which destroyed the odds of his opponent, Republican Senator Barry Goldwater, from winning the 1964 presidential election. The commercial opens with a little girl playing in a daisy field and then cuts to the scene of a nuclear explosion. 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9.
These are the stakes. To make a world in which all of God's children can live, or to go into the dark. We must either love each other or we must die.
Vote for President Johnson on November 3rd. The stakes are too high for you to stay home.
This commercial exaggerated his opinions and brought these issues closer to home. During the Holocaust, extensive use of propaganda was used by Adolf Hitler to gain German support for his final solution. After Germany was defeated in World War I, the country was in turmoil. The war completely destabilized their new democracy, giving rise to multiple radical factions who believed in the necessity of a strong supreme leader. Their economy suffered due to hyperinflation and the impact of the Great Depression. The German population was vulnerable and willing to accept any ideology that made sense and that would relieve their troubles. Adolf Hitler and his followers made the German Jewish population escape scapegoat, and most notably, used political cartoons to garner a hatred against the Jewish population.
Joseph Stryker used his newspaper, Der Stürmer, to print a variety of anti-Semitic cartoons that depicted the Jews as demonic and impure. In this political cartoon, published in Der Stürmer, titled Revenge, a Nazi is shoving a Jewish person over the cliff. The caption says, "Go where you want me to go, you evil spirits." These were very effective in persuading the German population that Jews were impure and also contributed to Hitler's immense success. Political figures often use fear-mongering to rally support for their sometimes rash assertions. These arguments commonly are derived from the desire to find a simple solution to a complex situation. McCarthy is infamous for doing so during the Cold War, a bloodless battle that directly stemmed from fear and resentment on the part of the Americans and Russians, respectively. According to the National Endowment for Humanities, he claimed to possess information regarding specific members in the State Department who were affiliated with the Communist Party. For the next 2 years, he and other Republicans would use these charges to garner support for the Truman administration. Consequently, Truman enjoyed a landslide victory by the GOP in the 1952 election. Whether or not McCarthy truly believed in his classified knowledge of the communists conspiring in the United States government, it is true, in fact, that he encouraged and sustained a sense of fear within the American people to lead them to vote in favor of the policies he supported. Fear-mongering is not a completely outdated idea, and in fact is widely used today. Donald Trump, for example, uses this technique to rally support for his policies and to make up for the abundance of fallacies in his arguments. This is especially true for issues such as the terrorist group ISIS that claims their heinous acts in the name of Islam. In reality, Islam is a peaceful religion that shares many founding principles with Christianity, such as faith, prayer, and giving to the less fortunate. Yet, he makes statements such as,
"Radical Islam is a huge issue. It's a huge issue in the country, but to evanger this is a bread and butter issue.
Right.
It's a big deal." You said one time in an interview that and just recently, that there's a, I think you said on O'Reilly actually, there's a Muslim problem
Right.
in this world. What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, Bill O'Reilly asked me, is there a Muslim problem? And I said, absolutely yes. In fact, I went a step further. I said, I didn't see Swedish people knocking down the World Trade Center. And, you know, it was very interesting. I thought that was going to be a controversial statement. And somebody, I think it was Dennis Miller, when they introduced him, he was doing like an analysis of my interview. He said, I love it. The guy said what the truth is. He didn't mince his words. He didn't say, oh, gee, no, there's not a Muslim problem. Everybody's wonderful. And by the way, most Muslims are wonderful people. But is there a Muslim problem? Look what's happening. Look what happened right here in my city with the World Trade Center and lots of other places. So
Trump repeatedly brings up the 9/11 terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center by Al-Qaeda, another terrorist group that claims Islam. He says most Muslims are nice people, yet he only relates the Muslim problem to some of the most devastating moments in American history. Thus, he leads people to directly associate Islam with terrorism, which in turn strikes fear in them. This, in combination with his affirmation that he will make America great again, results in his political gain. In conclusion, fear-mongering is most often used by insecure leaders who feel that the only way they will be able to remain in power is by instilling fear into their subjects. This applies to presidential campaigns as well, where candidates do not think that their platform is strong enough on its own, so they resort to the use of fear as a way to garner political support. While considered deceitful and immoral by many, fear-mongering has proved to be a highly effective persuasion technique, and more often than not has devastating consequences. Fear is a powerful weapon, and when combined with individuals who are willing to follow a leader's actions even when they seem wrong, can ultimately result in mistakes that stain our history.